Los Angeles, 1992. Saturday evening, 8:15 p.m. A high-end French restaurant in Beverly Hills, the kind of place where reservations are made 3 months in advance, where the wine list is leather-bound and thicker than most novels, where each table has its own spotlight, soft and golden, making everyone look like they're starring in their own private film. The kind of place where a single meal costs what most families spend on groceries for a month. Jean-Claude Van Damme pushes through the heavy oak door, his wife Darcy beside him. He's wearing a simple black suit, no tie, the jacket tailored perfectly to his shoulders. Clean lines, nothing flashy. After years in Hollywood, he's learned that real confidence doesn't need announcement. Darcy wears a deep emerald dress that catches the light with every step, her dark hair swept up, pearl earrings, subtle makeup that enhances rather than masks. They've been married 2 years. Tonight is their anniversary. A rare evening away from the chaos of film schedules, training sessions, and the constant demands of being Jean-Claude Van Damme. The restaurant hums with the quiet murmur of wealth, silverware clinking against fine china, soft jazz filtering through hidden speakers, the scent of truffle oil and aged wine and fresh bread. Crystal chandeliers hang from the ceiling like frozen fireworks, white tablecloths so crisp they could cut paper. This is where Hollywood comes to celebrate itself. Where deals are made over dessert, where marriages are proposed and sometimes ended. Van Damme is here because Darcy chose this place. She wanted somewhere special, somewhere that felt like an occasion. He would have been happy with a quiet place, something simple, but he sees the joy in her eyes when she walks into spaces like this, and that's all that matters, making her happy, giving her moments that feel magical. After everything they've been through together, the struggles, the public scrutiny, the whispers about his accent, his background, his journey from Brussels to Hollywood, she deserves magic. A hostess approaches. Mid-20s, blonde, professionally beautiful in that particular Los Angeles way. Her smile is practiced, automatic, the kind that appears and disappears like a light switch. She holds 2 leather menus against her chest. Her eyes sweep over Van Damme and Darcy, and something shifts in her expression. Subtle, so subtle most people would miss it, but Van Damme doesn't miss it. Years of reading opponents in the ring taught him to see micro-expressions, the tiny tells that reveal truth beneath surface. The hostess's smile tightens, just a fraction. Her posture stiffens slightly. She looks at Darcy, then at Van Damme, then back at Darcy. Calculating, judging, making assumptions about what she sees. A beautiful American woman with a foreign man, an accent, different, other. "Good evening," the hostess says. Her voice is professionally pleasant, but there's something underneath, something cold. "Do you have a reservation?" Van Damme nods. "Yes, under Van Damme, 8:30. She checks her list. Her finger runs down the page slowly, too slowly. She knows the name. Everyone in Los Angeles knows that name by 1992. Bloodsport, kickboxer. Universal soldier in theaters right now, but she's making them wait, making a point, establishing something. "Ah yes," she finally says. "Van Damme, party of 2, she looks up. "We have a table available in the back, near the kitchen. It just opened up." Near the kitchen. The worst tables in any restaurant. The tables reserved for people the establishment doesn't want visible. The tables where sound carries from clanging pots and shouted orders. Where the magic of the dining room disappears into the reality of industrial food preparation. Darcy's hand tightens on Van Damme's arm. She feels it too. The deliberate slight. The careful insult designed to look like accommodation. Van Damme looks at the dining room, half empty. At least 6 tables available in prime locations. Window seats, corner booths, tables with candles and fresh flowers and perfect lighting. All empty, all available. And this hostess wants to seat them next to the kitchen. He looks back at her, his face calm, completely calm, no anger, no reaction, just observes, waits, gives her a chance to correct herself. Maybe she made a mistake, maybe she's new, maybe she doesn't understand what she's doing, but she doesn't correct herself. She stands there, menus clutched to her chest, that tight smile frozen on her face, waiting for them to accept their assigned place. The place she's decided they belong, hidden, out of sight. Where the other diners won't have to see the foreign action star with the thick accent and his beautiful American wife. The moment stretches. Other diners glance over, sensing something. Tension building in the space between the hostess stand and the dining room. Van Damme can feel Darcy's anger radiating through her grip on his arm. She's about to say something. About to confront this woman. About to make a scene that will end with managers and apologies and everyone starring. But Van Damme squeezes her hand gently. A signal, I've got this. Let me handle it. He looks at the hostess, direct eye contact. The kind that makes people uncomfortable. The kind that forces them to really see you, to acknowledge you as human, as equal, as worthy of basic respect. Then he speaks. His voice is quiet. So quiet the hostess has to lean in to hear. But every word is clear. Every word lands with precision. "We'll take that table by the window," Van Damme says, gesturing to a prime corner spot with floor-to-ceiling glass overlooking the city lights. "The one you would give to someone you respect. 5 seconds. That's all it takes." 5 seconds from the hostess suggesting the kitchen table to Van Damme finishing his sentence. 5 seconds to completely shift the power dynamic. 5 seconds to teach a lesson without raising his voice, without threatening, without anger. Just 5 seconds of quiet dignity and direct truth. The hostess's face flushes red. Her mouth opens, closes, opens again. She realizes her mask slipped, realizes her prejudice showed, realizes she just tried to hide Jean-Claude Van Damme in the back of the restaurant like he's someone to be ashamed of. That table is, she's stammering now, looking for an excuse, looking for a way to save face. Van Damme doesn't help her, just waits, patient, calm, letting her struggle with the consequences of her choice. Finally, she nods. "Of course, right this way." She leads them to the window table. Her professional posture has collapsed, her shoulders curved inward, her steps smaller, the power completely shifted. Van Damme and Darcy follow, and as they walk through the dining room, other diners watch. Some recognize him, whispers start. "That's Van Damme, the muscles from Brussels. Universal soldier." They reach the table. The hostess sets down the menus with trembling hands. "Your server will be right with you," she says quietly and hurries away. Van Damme pulls out Darcy's chair. She sits, looking at him with something between admiration and fury. Admiration for how he handled it. Fury that he had to handle it at all. Fury that this is their life. That they can't go to a nice restaurant without someone making it about his accent, his background, his otherness. "I'm sorry," she says as he sits across from her. "I'm so sorry you have to deal with that." Van Damme shakes his head. "Not your fault, and not the first time, won't be the last. It's not right. No, but getting angry doesn't fix it. Showing them who I am, showing them I deserve respect, that changes things. Maybe not today, maybe not with her, but with someone watching, someone who sees how I respond." He reaches across the table, takes her hand. "We're here to celebrate our anniversary. Our love, don't let her take that from us." Darcy squeezes his hand, nods, tries to smile, but the moment is damaged, the magic of the evening cracked. A waiter approaches, different from the hostess. Older, maybe 50, with gray at his temples and lines around his eyes that suggest years of service work. He's carrying a water pitcher and 2 glasses. He stops at their table, and Van Damme prepares for round 2. Prepares for more microaggressions, more subtle insults, more careful reminders that he doesn't quite belong. But the waiter surprises him. He sets down the water glasses, fills them carefully, and looks at Van Damme with recognition and something else. Respect, embarrassment. "Mr. Van Damme," the waiter says quietly. "My name is Robert. I'll be serving you this evening." He pauses. "I want to apologize for how you were treated at the door. That was unacceptable. You deserve better. Any guest in this restaurant deserves better." Van Damme studies him, sees sincerity, sees a man who witnessed something that bothered him, who chose to acknowledge it rather than ignore it. "Thank you," Van Damme says simply. Robert nods. "I've worked here 15 years. I've seen a lot, too much honestly, and I've stayed quiet too many times when I should have spoken up. But I want you to know that your table tonight is on me. Whatever you order, whatever you want, it's my treat." "My apology for what you experienced." Darcy's eyes widen. "You don't have to do that." "I know," Robert says, "but I want to, because silence is agreement, and I don't agree with how you were treated." Van Damme looks at this man, this waiter who didn't have to say anything, who could have served them professionally and collected his tip and gone home, but chose instead to acknowledge the injustice, to take a stand, however small. "What's your story, Robert?" Van Damme asks. Robert looks surprised. "My story? Yes, you've been here 15 years, you see things, you understand things. What made you speak up tonight?" Robert sets down the water pitcher, glances around to make sure no managers are watching, and he pulls out a chair and sits. Not proper restaurant etiquette, not professional, but human. "My daughter," Robert says. "She's 23, just graduated from UCLA, beautiful, smart, full of life." He pauses. "Last year she started dating a man from Ethiopia, a graduate student, brilliant guy, kind, treats her like a queen, but my family," he stops, swallows. "My family didn't approve. Different background, different culture. My father told her she was making a mistake. My brother stopped talking to her, and his voice breaks slightly. I stayed quiet, I didn't defend her, didn't stand up for her choice, didn't tell my family they were wrong." He looks directly at Van Damme. "She stopped calling me, stopped coming to family dinners. I lost my daughter because I was too afraid to go against my family, too afraid to stand up for what's right." He gestures toward the hostess stand. "When I saw what happened at the door, when I saw that young woman try to hide you because you're different, because you don't fit her narrow view of who deserves the good tables, I thought about my daughter, about the man she loves, about how many people treat them the way that hostess just treated you. And I couldn't stay quiet again. I won't stay quiet again." The table is silent. Darcy has tears in her eyes. Van Damme feels something shift in his chest. This moment, this conversation. This is why he responded with dignity instead of anger, because someone was watching, someone was learning. "Have you called your daughter?" Van Damme asks. Robert shakes his head. "I don't know what to say, how to apologize for months of silence, for choosing my family's prejudice over her happiness." Van Damme leans forward. "You say I was wrong, I'm sorry. I want to meet the man you love. I want to be the father you deserve. That's all, that's enough. The rest you build through action, through showing up, through defending her when your family criticizes, through standing beside her instead of behind her." Robert's eyes are wet. "You think she'll forgive me?" "I think everyone deserves a chance to grow," Van Damme says, "to be better than they were yesterday. You made a mistake, but you recognized it. That's the first step. The next step is doing better, teaching your family differently, showing your daughter that love matters more than what other people think." Robert nods slowly. "After my shift tonight, I'm calling her. I'm going to apologize. I'm going to ask to meet him, her boyfriend, her partner, the man she loves." He stands up. "Thank you, Mr. Van Damme. You didn't have to share that wisdom. You could have just accepted my apology and moved on, but you gave me something more valuable. You gave me courage." "Everyone has courage," Van Damme says. "Sometimes we just need someone to remind us." Robert picks up his water pitcher. "Order anything you want tonight, seriously. Anything, and I promise you it will be perfect." He walks away, his posture different now, straighter, stronger, like something heavy lifted from his shoulders. Darcy looks at Van Damme across the table. "Do you know what you just did? Had a conversation?" "No," she shakes her head. "You just changed that man's life. You changed his daughter's life. You changed his family's future. 5 seconds at the hostess stand, and now this." Van Damme shrugs. "I just told him what I've learned, what life taught me. That responding with dignity is more powerful than responding with anger. That teaching is more valuable than destroying. That everyone deserves a chance to grow." The meal is extraordinary. Course after course of perfectly prepared food. Robert attends to every detail with care that goes beyond professionalism. This is personal for him now. Every plate he delivers is an apology. Every glass he refills is a promise to do better. Between courses, Van Damme and Darcy talk about their 2 years together. The challenges of building a life in Hollywood, the constant scrutiny, the articles that question why she's with him, the assumptions people make about their relationship, the way his accent makes people underestimate him, the way his background makes people categorize him. "Sometimes I get so tired," Darcy admits, "tired of defending our love, tired of explaining that you're not what they think you are, that you're brilliant and kind and thoughtful and so much more than the action star they see on screen." "I know," Van Damme says. "I get tired too, tired of proving myself over and over. Tired of the surprise in people's eyes when I speak intelligently about philosophy or art. Tired of being reduced to my muscles and my kicks." He pauses. "But then I remember why I do this. Not for them, for us, for our life together, for moments like this, sitting across from you, celebrating our love despite everyone who says we don't make sense. We make perfect sense, Darcy says fiercely. To us, that's all that matters. As they finish dessert, Robert returns. There's someone who wants to say something to you, he says quietly, if you're willing to listen. Van Damme looks past him. The hostess from earlier stands a few feet away. Her face is red. Her eyes are swollen like she's been crying. She looks terrified. Van Damme nods. Send her over. The hostess approaches slowly, stops at the edge of their table, can't quite make eye contact. Mr. Van Damme, she starts, her voice shaking. Mrs. Van Damme, I need to apologize. What I did when you arrived was inexcusable. I tried to hide you. I tried to make you feel less than, and it wasn't because you did anything wrong. It was because she stops, swallows. I'm prejudiced. I have these ideas in my head about who belongs where, about who deserves the best treatment, and those ideas are wrong. They're poisonous, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Van Damme looks at her, really looks at her, sees a young woman struggling with beliefs she inherited. Beliefs she never questioned until tonight. What's your name? He asks. Jessica. Jessica, how old are you? 24. And where are you from? Orange County. I grew up there, very white, very conservative. My parents, she stops. My parents would be proud of what I did tonight. That's the worst part. They would think I did the right thing, protecting the good tables from people they don't think belong. Van Damme nods slowly. But you don't think that anymore. No, Jessica shakes her head violently. God, no, Robert, he talked to me after you were seated. He told me about his daughter, about his regrets, about standing up for what's right. And I realized I've been doing this my whole life. Small acts of exclusion, small moments of prejudice, thinking they don't matter because they're not big, obvious racism. But they matter, they hurt people, they hurt you. Tears run down her face now. I'm so ashamed. Shame is useful, Van Damme says, if it leads to change, if it makes you do better tomorrow. But shame that just sits inside you, that doesn't help anyone. Transform it into action. How? Jessica asks desperately. How do I fix this? How do I become better? Start by noticing, Van Damme says. Notice when you make assumptions. Notice when you treat people differently based on how they look or sound. Notice when you give some people the benefit of the doubt and not others. Just notice. Then make a different choice. A conscious choice. To treat everyone with the dignity they deserve. Jessica nods, wiping her eyes. I will, I promise, I'll notice, I'll do better. She looks at Darcy. Mrs. Van Damme, I'm sorry I disrespected your husband. I'm sorry I tried to diminish him. She looks back at Van Damme. You're extraordinary, and I almost missed that because of my own blindness. You didn't miss it, Van Damme says gently. You see it now, that's growth, that's learning, don't waste it. Jessica thanks them and walks away, but different now. Changed. 1 5-second interaction at the hostess stand rippling forward into transformation. As Van Damme and Darcy prepare to leave, Robert returns one final time. I called my daughter, he says, his voice thick with emotion. During my break, I called her and I apologized, and he stops, overcome. She's coming to dinner tomorrow, her and her boyfriend. She's giving me a chance because of you, because you showed me what real strength looks like. Van Damme stands, extends his hand. Robert takes it, and Van Damme pulls him into a brief hug. Be the father she needs, Van Damme says quietly. Not the father your family wants you to be, the father she needs. I will, Robert promises. I absolutely will. Walking out into the Lowe's Angels night, Darcy slips her arm through Van Damme's. 5 seconds, she says. 5 seconds at that hostess stand changed 3 lives tonight. Robert, Jessica, Robert's daughter. Maybe more, Van Damme says. Robert's daughter's boyfriend, the family Robert will now defend her to, the customers Jessica will treat differently from now on. Ripples, everything we do creates ripples. 3 weeks later, a letter arrives at their home, handwritten, 2 pages on restaurant stationery from Robert. He writes about the dinner with his daughter and her boyfriend. How awkward it started. How nervous he was. How his daughter watched him with guarded hope. How her boyfriend was kind and brilliant and everything Robert would want for his daughter if he could just let go of his prejudices. He writes about standing up to his father when the old man criticized the relationship, about choosing his daughter over his family's approval, about the slow, difficult work of rebuilding trust. He writes that it's hard, that he catches himself having old thoughts, making old assumptions. but he's trying, actively working to be better, to unlearn decades of inherited prejudice. Robert ends the letter by saying that Van Damme's dignity that night, the way he handled disrespect with calm strength instead of anger, taught him more about being a man than his own father ever did. That 5 seconds watching Van Damme respond with grace showed him what real power looks like. Not power over people, power to lift people up, to teach instead of destroy, to plant seeds of change instead of watering seeds of hate. Van Damme shows Darcy the letter. She cries, happy tears, validation that the pain they experience constantly isn't for nothing, that moments of indignity can become moments of teaching, that Van Damme's restraint wasn't weakness, it was strategy. It was planting seeds that grow into something better. 20 years later, Van Damme receives an email from Jessica, the hostess. She's not a hostess anymore. She's a diversity and inclusion consultant working with restaurants and hotels to identify and eliminate discriminatory practices. She writes about that night in 1992. How it haunted her. How she couldn't forget the shame of trying to hide Jean-Claude Van Damme and his wife. How that shame transformed into purpose. How she spent 2 decades working to ensure other people don't experience what the Van Dammes experienced. Jessica writes about training thousands of hospitality workers, about creating systems that prevent bias in seating, service, and treatment, about consulting with major hotel chains and restaurant groups, about making a career out of the lesson Van Damme taught her in 5 seconds. Everyone deserves dignity, regardless of who they are or where they come from. She ends her email with a request. Would Van Damme be willing to speak at her company's annual conference? Would he share his story? Would he help her teach others what he taught her? Van Damme agrees. At the conference, he stands on stage in front of 2,000 hospitality professionals and tells them about that night in 1992. About the hostess who tried to hide him, about the waiter who chose courage over silence, about 5 seconds that created ripples still expanding 2 decades later. I could have been angry that night, Van Damme says. I could have made a scene, could have demanded managers, could have humiliated that young woman, and maybe in the moment it would have felt good, like justice, like power. But what would it have taught her? That powerful people destroy those who disrespect them. That fear is how you create change. He pauses, looks out at the audience. Instead, I chose dignity. I chose to respond with calm strength. I chose to give her a chance to see her mistake, to grow from it. And because of that choice, she's standing in the back of this room right now, having spent 20 years teaching what I taught her in 5 seconds. That's the real power, not the power to destroy, the power to transform. The audience erupts in applause. Jessica stands in the back, tears streaming down her face, and mouths 2 words, thank you. That night, Van Damme calls Darcy, tells her about the conference, about seeing Jessica, about the thousands of people she's trained, about the ripples still expanding from 5 seconds in 1992. You were right, he tells his wife. That night changed lives, not just Robert's and Jessica's, thousands of lives, all because I chose teaching over destroying, dignity over anger, grace over revenge. That's who you are, Darcy says. That's who you've always been. The muscles from Brussels who understands that real strength isn't in your fists, it's in your heart. Here's what Jean-Claude Van Damme understood that night in 1992. Responding to disrespect with dignity is more powerful than responding with anger. Giving people room to grow is more valuable than putting them in their place. Teaching is harder than destroying, but the impact lasts longer, reaches further, changes more. 5 seconds. That's all it took. 5 seconds to shift power. 5 seconds to plant seeds. 5 seconds that rippled forward into decades of change. How many people in your life right now are like that hostess, acting out of inherited prejudice instead of examined values? And when you encounter them, do you destroy or teach? Do you humiliate or transform? Do you respond with anger or with dignity? Because 5 seconds of grace can change someone's entire life, can break cycles of prejudice, can save relationships, can plant seeds that grow into careers dedicated to change, can create ripples that expand for decades. Jean-Claude Van Damme chose grace that night, chose dignity over destruction, chose 5 seconds of teaching over 5 seconds of revenge, and those 5 seconds are still creating change, still teaching lessons, still proving that real power isn't in your fists or your fame or your ability to destroy someone who disrespects you. Real power is giving people a chance to be better, even when they don't deserve it, especially when they don't deserve it, because that's when transformation happens. When someone expects punishment and receives teaching instead, when someone deserves humiliation and receives dignity instead, that's legacy. That's 5 seconds that echo forever.